Saturday morning, the day before Father's Day 2011. Today we're going to discuss the economics of money. What is the economics of money? Well, let's just go through the world as we've seen it recently. This is you. I'm a great artist here. This is you. There are many yous, but you are you. Okay. And basically, you might have a job. Maybe you're retired and living on investment income, Social Security, or pension. But these are your sources of primary income, your investments or your job. And, well, if you'd have none of that, then in California and places in the United States, you go on welfare and there is a safety net. Anyway, the point is this. What if the dollar crashes? Which actually it's seen a small crash in the world crisis, but see, the world crisis is a world crisis, so when you actually look at it, we put all the currencies together. When the almighty dollar falls, the euro falls, and guess what? I'll show you later how they all fall, but let's just take it one currency at a time when it falls. Okay, and assume that this falls against the other major currencies by a small amount, maybe 20%, say. Now, all of a sudden, well, what have we seen? What has happened to our jobs? Our jobs have gone away because, well, see, we had this housing bubble. And we had no problem in California when the bubble was going up 25% a year for 4 or 5 years. But that was unsustainable. But when it went down, it changed the whole market for housing. It realized we have an overcapacity housing because without jobs and income, we can't pay our mortgages. That's a really simple thing. Without the jobs, we can't pay for the housing we built. Okay, so the housing crashes. But let's put all aside. We know where housing is now. And here's part of the problem. If you add up the housing and its true real value, and you add up the mortgages on the banks that are tied to this money, because see, that dollar, I call it a dollar, is tied to banks, and the banks get their money from the dollar, and the dollar rely on the banks. But when the banks own less than they have mortgaged out, the banks are bankrupt. That's what you worried about before. And, banks can play funny numbers and accounting games, and it's all about what is the real market for things. But the thing is, this is only with a modest decline in the dollar. Now you're facing a debt crisis still, and you're facing downgrades. If you have downgrades, you see, the dollar's almighty power as a world currency of reserve diminishes. Now, fortunately, yours going through the same problem, so they diminish. Problem is, there's no place to hide. But then that is part of the problem, and that's the problem. So, but let's just say, what happens when the dollar goes way down? Let's go down by half or maybe even by 3/4. Okay, what happens to your job income? Your job income remains the same as long as you keep your job, but as we said, when it crashes, there are reasons why houses aren't built. Then your investment income. Well, you've already seen your investment income going from, 5% on a CD to 1-2%. Risky investments from 10% plus down to 5%. You'd be lucky to get it. And so now all of a sudden your investment income's below. And that is a problem because, well, your Social Security is built on a promise to pay, which is all tied back to that dollar. But they can just issue the dollars to pay your Social Security. But the pensions, they need income to pay the annuities that they have to the pensioners. And if the pension income doesn't keep up, well, then they have the Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation. Then that's covered by the dollar. Okay, what happens that means, okay, the jobs get lost, the dollar goes down because the tax base goes down. The housing's going down, the taxes goes further down as housing gets repriced. The investment returns have gone down, so Uncle Sam no longer collects as much money in investment returns. People are hiding the cash and maybe they're trying to get out of the dollar. That doesn't help the whole situation. But then again, on the top line, the positive thing is those youths that are running out of jobs and income just go on the welfare system, which helps them survive. But here's the problem with that. The problem with that is that all of a sudden now, the welfare is dragging down. the budgets that drag down the dollar. And we can't keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing because we're getting to the maximum, and we've gotten to the maximum. So, and the thing is, the more you borrow, the more you create for the dollar as negative pressure, because I haven't even talked about taxes in here, because taxes come right out of your income. And if they ever raise taxes, then definitely your income. Now let's look at your expenses, because there's not all bad news in the expense fund when the dollar crashes. So the dollar crashes, I'll guarantee you one thing. The price of energy will go up, but mainly the price of oil and transportation will go way up, because the dollar crashed. And we get oil all of a sudden is $200 a barrel instead of $100. You guys were happy with $60 barrel oil. My gosh, $200 barrel oil, $300 barrel oil. But the point, well, that is part of the point. So energy transportation is going up, but that might not be such of a problem if you lost your job. But then again, if you lost your job, you've got other problems too. But then, okay, so the food, well, the food's not going to go up hugely because it's locally produced and it's pretty much denominated in dollar. But it's going to go up because the other people around the world are going to be able to buy our corn out and buy our grains and stuff and say, guess what? This American food is cheap, so they'll start buying it out, and there'll be less than the shelves for the Americans because their money isn't paying as much as the other monies are. Although in relative sense, it's all farming anyway. So, but then the price of consumer products and these things made in China and what have you, they're going to go up because, well, the dollar went down, so when we have to bring them back across the United States, they go up in price. So there are some modest increase, but your big expense is housing. Now, fortunately, the net of that is when the dollar crashes, your housing is denominated in dollars. So your housing prices of your mortgage doesn't change. So as long as you have your income on over here, you're fine. Well, this income is threatened, but your mortgage doesn't change. And so you basically, or your rent is still paid in dollars. And so when the housing comes down, then now there will be a point in time where it might come back up. But to see, when you have an oversupply of housing, and you have people who can't pay for the housing, and you have it all going down where housing is actually costing these empty houses money, well, eventually, that drags down. But the point is, the housing value might stay relatively the same. That's good news. But the other expenses go up. But the problem with all of this is right here. Because if we can't build, if we aren't building, if we aren't growing, we have no investment income and job income. And, well, you see, I don't think when you start going down the rabbit hole, you can get yourself out of the rabbit hole by digging farther and deeper in debt. You can't. You have to get out of the rabbit hole and take a run. Not a walk, a run on the wild side of your mind. You have to think of what we'll talk about next, but the future of economics. You see, because the good news is this. Because when the almighty dollar crashes, the euro goes and the yen goes, and they all fall, because even the nations that would benefit by that, the ruble and the people with oil, even those that might benefit by the cosmic cash flow, will see eventually their volume would fall, and the rest of their investment values will fall. And they will see we all fall together. So the simple thing is, once you understand the economics of real mad money, then you realize if we all fall together, we have no choice to create a new money. So we all rise apart as one global monetary system. So next up, I'll talk to you about the future economics of money.